Cheers, vinyl community, what's going on? It's LJ. And we're going to do a bit of a different video tonight, and I am going to honor the request to share some of my country music collection with the vinyl community. First of all, quick little bit of housekeeping. I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday. Things were definitely busy around here, but just good times with good family, good friends, and I hope everybody in the VC enjoyed the same thing too. Great to kind of just take a couple of days, kick back, relax, somewhat, after you're done putting all the toys and all that good stuff together. But you know what? I wouldn't change it. And I really, from my heart, I hope everybody out there in the VC and everybody that watches this was able to just enjoy a little bit of down, quiet time with good high spirits and great energy and just enjoy each other. And that's what life is all about. But this video is about a part of my collection that I've never shown in the vinyl community, and that is the country section. So every now and then I'll get a PM that says, what country records do you have? Do you like country? And that kind of stuff. I think, you know, we're all kind of known for our favorite genres, and I'm usually more towards the rock side, 70s rock, 80s metal, rock, jazz here and there, and that's fair. But country definitely represents a good portion of my listening, and it's kind of funny that I just never show it. I want to say it's definitely driven by season. You know, for me, in the winter, country kind of tends to taper off a bit. Maybe, you know, 15-20% of my listening overall. In the summer months and in the warmer months, it ramps way up, and it represents at least half, if not more, of my listening. And that's combined with other favorite genres, and that's country rock and southern rock. And in those warm summer months, I mean, man, those just blend all together. Some good country tunes, some good old southern rock, some good old country rock. Now, there's been a couple of great country videos made in the VC lately, or about the country genre. Zach, the Zeke Geek 1, who we all know and love in the vinyl community, made a phenomenal video that kind of just trailed everyone through all sorts of different country music, and Zach is like the preeminent expert when it comes to country music. From what I've seen so far, kind of took us through the history of hillbilly, bluegrass, honky-tonk in the 40s, and then into the 50s with rockabilly and countrypolitan kind of music, and then into the 60s with the Bakersfield sound with Lefty Frizzell and Merle Haggard. He stepped us through country rock. One of my personal favorites with Graham Parsons and the Byrds, Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Yes, I do love that album. Marshall Tucker Band and Poco. Into the 70s, which is where I tend to hit my stride and for what I find most listenable. And that's where you'll find a lot of my collection, which is 1, 2, 3 cubes up here, focuses. So let's step through some of the stuff I have, maybe a little bit of chatter, and I'll try to do some needle drops in between too, so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about and what it is that catches my ear, and I hope it catches yours. Here we go. What is in LJ's country collection? Let's see. There's a couple up here. These were recent pickups. Most of my listening tends, in terms of country, is going to always be late 60s to very early 80s, 81, 82. So in that period is where I tend to find that I like country the best. That's where it's most listenable for me. You know, some folks, it's way back in the 50s. They just dig that sound. It works for them. Some folks in the current, you know, state of absolute utter mess that is country music, they like that. And it's all about what works for you. For me, it's more just the good old down-home, old-school country vibe. And that's what I get out of things like Tom T. Hall. This is We All Got Together and this is Country Is. Tom T. Hall had a massive, massive run of luck as a songwriter for Johnny Cash. Should pop something on in the background here. You know, with I Walk the Line. But Tom is just early 70s, great country, great storytelling. Love Tom Hall. Let's see, what else is in here? Okay, so here's a good chance to say, as far as pop country goes, you know, Alabama gets a bad rap, but Alabama has sold millions and millions and millions and millions of albums.
Some mountain music, like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I'll float on down the river to Cajun Hideaway.
Because they just, when it comes to kind of country pop or mainstream easy listening country, Alabama shaped the sound of country in the early 80s. And they actually have some really decent tracks. Some of them are hokey as hell, but when you can find them cheap, it's worth picking up. That's gonna be the stuff that I heard growing up. Do you know what I mean? And that stuff's great. Don't give it a bad rap. Here's a good one. Moe Bandy and Joe Stanley. I had this on in a video probably over a year ago, and it was Dave, someone 481, who left a comment I'll never forget, and he said, I think there's a good old boy hiding in there. I hear that in the background, and he was right. And this is just good old boy, early 80s, 79. Just drink your beer and we work hard. It's just great stuff. It's so redneck, but it's such a great album. Definitely want to check out. What else is in here? Similar stuff. You have the Bellamy Brothers, Two and Only. Again, late 70s, early 80s stuff. Here's one that surprised me. I was kind of a lifelong hater of Jimmy Buffett. I couldn't stand the guy or anything he did. And then I heard a song, Ringlin' Ringlin', on the radio, and it was a country song, and then they were like, no, it's Jimmy Buffett. What? And it was Living and Dying in 3/4 Time. To my surprise, I had this album in my donate bin. I got it as part of a collection, and it was Jimmy, so it was an automatic out of here. And I was shocked. I found it, and it's a country Jimmy Buffett album, and it's awesome, and it's not to be missed. Let's see. Glenn Campbell. Okay, Glenn Campbell is a guy that I dig listening to Glenn. He's done some corny stuff, but this is I Knew Jesus Before He Was a Star, which is really good. And this is a good chance to say, oh God, Wichita lineman.
I am a lineman for the county, and I drive the main road, searching in the sun for another overload. I hear you sing the ends out for the time.
So what I was saying is this is a good time to say you got to be careful kind of with some of these artists. This is Anne Murray and Glenn Campbell. All right. That have kind of gone through, here's Rhinestone Cowboy, different periods in country music where they may have started in the 60s and then they transitioned into the 70s and then maybe even the 80s, and they want to remain relevant. They want to sell records. So as artists, they kind of compromise maybe what they think is best in order, their beliefs in order to sell albums, right? Sound more mainstream, sell albums. We all need to get paid. But it means you need to be really careful sometimes picking things up. You know, like Glenn Campbell, Bloodline. Glenn's 70s, late 70s period where he was just all messed up, produced some of his best music for me ever and the most listenable. Dark, great stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's Highwayman. Man, great, phenomenal. Later period, Glenn. When's this from? 1979. Still excellent stuff. And Glenn just released what he's claiming is his absolute last album. The man is on tour. You got to give him credit. Let's keep going through here. All right, we have to have the Man in Black, Mr. Johnny Cash. Here's Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I love Johnny's early stuff. The Legend of John Henry's Hammer. This is just some great classic country. And that's what's on in the background as well. What we were listening to a little while ago. This is a CD, but here's Johnny's I Walk the Line.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds, because you're mine.
Very early Johnny. Very great stuff. I'll pick up Johnny anytime I find him. Lots more from Johnny, right? I mean, hello, I'm Johnny Cash. What else is here? Here's an absolute classic we've all heard of. This is At Folsom Prison, and right behind it should be Live at San Quentin, the good old prison recordings. If you haven't given them an honest listen and you haven't listened to, you might be really surprised what you find there. There's some more Johnny. Here's Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash, A Man and His Woman. Some great stuff there. More Johnny, more Johnny, more Johnny. It's another good early one. This is Johnny Cash. Alright, now some outlaw country. So here's some great stuff. Actually, some of these came from vinyl community member Greeno, who just wasn't feeling them. Here's David Allan Coe. And David was part of that great outlaw country music movement, which, you know, now it's kind of legendary. It's like outlaw country, oh, it's badass. But, you know, it was Willie Nelson that said, here's, I've got something to say. Outlaw country is actually, as a term, is pretty meaningless. Here's Tennessee Whiskey. This is a phenomenal album. Lots of just raw bar energy. Do you know what I mean? Let's get drunk and be bad boys kind of energy.
The herd away. Well, how do you spell relief? I just get D-R-U-N-K.
But, you know, the outlaw country movement is primarily, it's Hank Williams Jr., it's Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, David Allan Coe, Waylon's wife, Jessie Coulter, Chris Christopherson, Sammy Smith. These are great artists, but it was Willie that said at one point or another something along the lines of outlaw country was coined in a magazine or an article or a review, and it just caught on, and the kids identified with it. It kind of captured the anger of youth of the nation, and it was bad, and, you know, kids want to misbehave and align with it, so they kind of just, those guys took it and ran with it. But, you know, outlaw country doesn't mean it's nasty. It's far from it. It's just, it's got a little edge to it, and it's really good stuff. Here's DAC. David Allan Coe is so awesome. Here's Castles in the Sand. So definitely some excellent stuff. Along those similar lines, here's Waylon Jennings' wife, Jessie Coulter. It's her debut album. These are all early to mid-70s albums. Here's, what is this, FM, Jessie Coulter? I forget the title. Another great album. Again, she's just got a bit of an edge to her. Here's Diamond in the Rough. Let's see. Obligatorily, you have to have something from John Denver, and he's got a couple alright albums. Here's Poems, Prayers, and Promises. I definitely wouldn't go crazy collecting John, but he's got a couple of decent things. Again, just be careful. And here's some decent kind of mid-70s stuff. Here's Johnny Duncan, Greatest Hits. Kind of just standard mid-70s country, what was country pop at the time or mainstream. It's got a decent sound to it. I'll grab it if I find it cheap. The 80s, not so strong. I mean, there's a couple of albums, if you can find them dirt cheap, they're alright if you're into country. Exile, Kentucky Hearts, and Exile's debut. They were okay. They're not total stinkers, but they're not great. There's better stuff, like Freddie Fender, recorded inside Louisiana State Prison. This is probably the earliest country album I own. This might have been recorded in 1962. It's got a fantastic raw Louisiana, Mississippi Delta prison sound to it. It's awesome. Let's see. Bobby Gentry. Okay, here's your #1 fan. This is a neat digipack. And Ode to Billy Joe. There's some good stuff on this. Check it out. Let's see. Alright, here we go. Into that Bakersfield sound. Merle Haggard, Mama Tried. Man, what a great album. Merle and the Strangers. This is probably one of my favorite country albums ever, period. And it's one that nobody should miss. Let's run through...
First thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing and the youngest dream of growing up to ride.
Let's run through, here's Merle's Christmas Present. I've never even listened to that. Here's Branded Man. Merle's great. Merle is just great. This is My Farewell to Elvis. Elvis, another artist who had kind of crossed over into that country sound himself with one of my favorite albums. Here's From Elvis in Memphis. Stellar, stellar, not to be missed. Kind of country, Elvis, rhythm and blues, country, fantastic. And just doing something that Ray Charles himself had done maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years earlier with modern sounds and country and western music. Still good, not as good for me as Elvis in Memphis, but it's a good crossover. Here's Merle and the Strangers. This is 11 Winners, kind of a comp. Let's see, here's I Love the Dixie Blues, so I recorded live in New Orleans. Fantastic album. Okie from Muskogee. That cover got some love. Let's see, what else do we have? Here's High on a Hilltop. Great album. Merle's just got a great laid-back sound. There's another comp, but here's another fantastic one, If We Make It Through December. Great album. Great Merle. If you dig Merle, you'll dig just about anything he did. Here's a later one. This is Serving 190 Proof. Good stuff. Merle, like anyone else, morphed his sound a little bit. Here's Merle Haggard and Bonnie Owens. That makes 2 of us. Here's an absolute country sweetheart. Emmylou Harris. Here's Evangeline. Great cover. And Blue Kentucky Girl. Emmylou's great. She can be sweet. She can be rowdy. Rowdy's a good sound for country music. Good stuff. Let's find some more good stuff. Alright, we talk outlaw. We talk Waylon, right? What goes around comes around. Damn Waylon. Just a good old boy. And Music Man is another fantastic Waylon album. Gotta love Clyde. Alright, another artist that's good if you can kind of catch some of his earlier stuff, in my opinion, George Jones. Nothing ever hurt me half as bad as losing you. Early George Jones, really good stuff. One of a million country pairings, George Jones and Tammy Wynette. Let's build a world together. Good stuff. It's another George and Tammy comp, Golden Ring. Very popular song. And this is where George kind of starts to lose me. He's joining the mainstream just a little too much. Like Bartender's Blues, still a good album, but you know, of the 71,000 George Jones LPs, that's it. Those are the 4. I gotta give it up at least to the Judds for Why Not Me. Very sporadic in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. There tends to be, I don't enjoy country albums as much anymore as I do singles. You know, there's a hit here and there, hit here and there. Why Not Me off the Judd's debut is one I love, the kids love. Chris Christopherson, can't talk outlaw country without talking Chris. Here's the Silver Tongue Devil and I. Me and Bobby McGee. Chris just has a fantastic voice. God, I love Chris. Border Lord, this record catches a ton of flack, but I think it's fantastic.
Morning sunshine, sunshine high on the mountain, where the air is pure and cold.
What was it? Greeno said Jesus was a Capricorn blows. Greeno, Jesus was a Capricorn does not blow, man. You just need to listen to it again. It's all good. Here's a quarter-phonic copy of that same album. Jesus was a Capricorn. That's, you know what, he did give it credit for being a great cover. So there's Chris Christopherson and Rita just sitting there, chilling. Great stuff. Man, I love that cover. Here's Chris and Rita doing an album together, Full Moon. What else is up here? Chris, Spooky Lady Sideshow. That's a great album. There's definitely more Chris here. Who's to Bless? Chris and Rita, Natural Act. It's too bad they split up. They're a kind of country's couple for me. To the Bone and Repossessed, a much later album. Chris and the Border Lords. Great, 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 great stuff. A couple up here. What do we have up here? Okay, so more outlaws. So this is how popular outlaw country was getting. Here's an album combining Willie, Jesse, Waylon, and Tom Paul Glasser. Some really good stuff. This is a great album if you want to get into outlaw country. Find that. A little more outlaw. Here's Sammy Smith, Help Me Make It Through the Night. This is on Mega Records. Cool label. And here's one that I have to admit I just love. This is Hoyt Axton, Fearless. A lot of us know Hoyt Axton as an actor, kind of the dad in Gremlins or Sheriff Hanault in Disorganized Crime. Man, something's wrong with my mind when I'll remember a stupid detail like that. Anyways, Hoyt is a ton of fun. He's just this big, burly Hoyt Axton telling his songs. There's so much humor infused in his music. He's got Cheech from Cheech and Chong on a song here and there. Working with the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Who else? I mean, there's so many names on this. You can't go wrong with a single Hoyt Axton album. He does a great cover of Lay Lady Lay on this. Unreal. I love Hoyt. You can just listen to Hoyt, have a good time, and feel good. Start moving through some of these. We'll spare some of them. Early Loretta Lynn. This is... Good old Decca Records. Don't Come Home with Drinking with Lovin' on Your Mind. Loretta Lynn had a great voice. Here's Loretta, Here I Am Again. Again, same thing. Watch what you pick up. Do you know what I mean? The sound kind of changed and morphed, but it's great. Here's some good old truck driving country. C.W. McCall, Wilderness. This is fantastic. And this is just great truck driving music, which is like a fusion of honky-tonk, Bakersfield, and country rock. Lots of storytelling in truck driving country. What else do we have? Michael Murphy, Blue Sky, Night Thunder. I file this with country. It's a little folky, a little reconnect me with the land, but man, this is a great album. Blue Sky, Night Thunder, definitely worth checking out. Here's Geronimo's Cadillac. Man, that song was a massive hit. You should be able to find that on YouTube easily if you're interested. Those were great finds. I got really excited when I saw those. And of course, we have to talk Mr. Willie Nelson.
Shotgun Willie sits around in his underwear, biting on a bullet, pulling out all of his hair. A shotgun.
Early Willie, definitely my favorite. So here's Shotgun Willie, which is such a great album. And I'll just run you through some Willie here. Here's a stone cold classic, Redheaded Stranger. Some sweet, sweet, sweet Willie. Here's The Troublemaker, another great album. Here's The Sound in Your Mind. And Willie's kind of one of those you love him or you hate him. Here's Willie singing Chris Christopherson songs. Stardust. Some really good stuff on here. Not a stone cold classic, but here's Willie and Family Live. Now this is a great album. This has the definitive version of Whiskey River I've ever heard. Absolutely excellent. Let's see. What else do we got? Honkytonk, and this is just great. Gary Stewart, Bobby Bear, Guy Clark, Waylon, and Willie. Awesome. Sweet Memories. Where else are we? Nice pairing. Willie and Ray Price. And what for me was probably one of the last great Willie records. This is Honeysuckle Rose. This is a soundtrack to the film. Again, just absolutely excellent. And then we all know stuff like Always on My Mind, which is alright. It's an easy find without a song. There's a lot of Willie up here, but it kind of tends to go south after that a little. Might have been the best way. Let's see. Again, with the singles, there's some decent stuff out there that I'll like from like the Oak Ridge Boys, Elvira, everybody knows. It's alright, and I'll keep this stuff around because we'll have a big cookout in the summer or something like that, and those are songs that just, they get people going, do you know what I mean? They love them, and Elvira, and everyone's grabbing a beer, and so that's good stuff for that. Definitely not an everyday listen. I do have to say that Marie Osmond kind of surprised me with Paper Roses. The Osmonds always continue to surprise me with some of their trippy psychedelic shit that they put out when the record labels like weren't looking. And Marie kind of came out of the blue with this Paper Roses, which is a legitimate, rock-solid, early country-sounding album. Really, really good. And she didn't do any better from there. Some Dolly here, but again, that's kind of the same. You know, it's the party thing. You throw on a Dolly tune. But I will say that this album, Trio, with Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris, was actually a good listen. Not a rocker. Here we go. Johnny Paycheck.
Down again, pool of tears. And I've seen a lot of good folk die. Had a lot of bills to pay. I'd give the shirt right off of my back if I had the guts to say, take this job and shove.
Here's George Jones and Johnny Paycheck. Look at George Jones trying to be badass in there. That's really neat stuff. And we got to stop and talk about Charlie Pride. I love Charlie Pride. Charlie Pride was set to be a baseball player and ended up at the suggestion of friends or relatives, I'm not sure who it was, ended up at Sun Studios cutting a few tracks. And those tracks made their way to, God, I forget who at this point. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'll blank on YouTube every time. Chet Atkins, there we go. Chet loved what he heard, and we got the pride of country music, Charlie Pride. His early stuff is phenomenal. There's the Country Way. I listened to that yesterday. Charlie Pride in person. The sensational Charlie Pride.
As a boy and as a man, in the front row I would stand and raise my voice to God up in the sky. Everybody
just plain Charlie. What else we got? The Best of Charlie Pride. And it kind of starts to come to a close here. Here's In Concert with Charlie Pride, which Chet Atkins, Ronnie Millsap, Jerry Reed. Love me some Jerry Reed. And I'm sorry, one of very few gospel albums I own. This is Sunday Morning with Charlie Pride. And this is Charlie just getting all down on Jesus and the church tip and the Bible and while it's good, but it's got that southern country yearns, you know what I mean? Go to church and pray, and regardless of what you believe, how can you not be infused with the gospel soul of country music? It's at its heart and soul of what it is. There's some more Charlie up here, but then there's albums that, I mean, look at this, right? Charlie Pride Night Games. I don't even know why I own this. It must have been free. So 1983, here's Charlie, right? And here's like early 70s. This, just the look of the album cover, this is what I'm gonna grab, and this should be just left in the bins. It's just no good. Let's see. Where else can we go? Yeah, Jerry Reed. God, I love Jerry Reed. Name of Moses was a Cajun. He lived by himself in the swamp. They hunted alligator for living. They just knock him in the head with a stone. The Louisiana law gon' get you, Amos. It ain't legal hunting alligator down in the swamp, boy. Jerry Reed, so much fun. He's a party guy. I mean, Amos Moses. Here we go. Eastbound and Down. There's some truck driving country for you right there. Good old silly Jerry Smokey and the Bandit Reed. Here's a great Jerry album. This is The Bird. If you have not heard Jerry Reed's song The Bird and the story he tells and his songwriting abilities, you've got to check it out. It's definitely not to be missed. Here's The Silver-Haired Fox, Charlie Rich, Silver Linings. Same thing. Early Charlie Rich, I absolutely love. Here's Charlie Rich, Every Time You Touch Me, I Get High. Rollin' with the Flow. And that's it. And Charlie's kind of the same way. You know, I've had some Charlie albums that I've just cut loose. They're just no good. Here's another artist that follows kind of that same MO. This is Johnny Rodriguez. All I ever meant to do was sing. This Johnny is a Latin American country artist, and he kind of just infused a teeny tinge I get of that Latin sound in with country, which was awesome. He was a drinking kind of man. He loved to hear a good hillbilly band. Scar across his face with Jimmy's brand. Other than that, I really just have his greatest hits because nothing else he ever did turned me on or worked for me. We talked a little bit about Marie Osmond, so we have to talk about Linda Ronstadt, and I know she's thrift store fodder, but you are not going to find this one in the thrift store. And for a good reason, it's just too damn good. This is Silk Purse, and much as Marie Osmond's Paper Roses is just a great female country album, man, Silk Purse is a great female country album, and it's one you've got to check out. Here's some early stuff. This is Marty Robbins, Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs. Cool stuff. Marty, up and down for me. He just doesn't always fire on all cylinders for me. Here's El Paso City. This one's alright. But it's one to keep in the collection, I guess. As much as is early Kenny. Now, I've heard early Kenny Rogers in New Edition, in first edition called Psych, which kind of blows my mind because it's not Psych, but definitely some good early country stuff. Here's Backroads. Very early stuff. And Kenny actually is behind one of my favorite country, if you will, tunes ever, and that is Love Will Turn You Around from the movie Six Pack. And it's for no other reason than I grew up watching Six Pack, and it would be on, you know, Channel 38 on weekends. But another great, easy on the ears country song. What else is in here? Okay, some more Joe Stampley, Red Wine and Blue Memories. It's the album I showed you earlier. And here's Joe Stampley, I'll Still Be Loving You. Another album I should probably just get rid of. Here's some more good old truck driving country. This is We Be Sailing, B.W. Stevenson. This is so much fun. And in the 80s, that gave us Randy Travis. Why do I own Randy Travis? Because in a time where country just absolutely was starting to suck hard, Randy still sounded like a cowboy. He still brought class, and I know I'm talking about a guy they just found drunk and naked, but hey, we all have issues. But at the time, he still brought that stand-up country sound to country music. And that's what I like about a couple of Randy records. Here's another one, No Holding Back. Seemed a little silly at this point. Again, with the early female country, Tanya Tucker. Her early stuff is great, and then she got a little Playboy centerfold-ish, and kind of did stuff like TNT. And anyone that owns this knows where I'm going, right? So that was your bar girl in 1980, 79, 1978. Wow, okay. There we go. So there's a lot of stuff going on then. Here's good old Conway Twitty. Same thing. The early stuff is just great. Here's I Can't Stop Loving You. Now, Conway and Loretta Lynn, what a pair. And if you haven't heard Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, whoo.
Hey, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, we get together every time we can. The Mississippi River can't keep us apart. There's too much love in this Mississippi heart. Too much love in this.
That is a country standard right there. Right there. People start karaoke in that and I just can't even listen to it. Here's Linda on My Mind. And this was about the end of Conway for me. I've already loved you in my mind. Just look at the hat, dude. I should talk, right? Look at the hat, but still. Let's see. So here's a great cover. I love this. This is Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn, Honkytonk Heroes. With the fully drawn cover there. And this just says what country is in. There's your bar, Coal Miner's Daughter. I have that as well. It's in soundtracks. Cheeseburgers, 20 cents, the jukebox. And these two are just going to own the bar, the old honky-tonk bar. Love that. Here's some early Tammy Wynette. Again, same thing. I pick up early stuff. This is D-I-V-O-R-C-E. Yes, I know I said it. Spelled it instead of said it because of the hyphens in between tell me to do that. And this is kind of just a sad record. Family getting divorced, what it means to the kids. Sad, and that's what country is, right? Sometimes it's ailing and fixing your heart. Here's another kind of gospel-tinged one, Inspiration. What else is up here? Freddie Weller. Good stuff, man. Listen to the young folks. Again, an artist that in the early 70s absolutely loved some fantastic stuff.
So if you don't like the way young people talk and dress and wear their hair, remember, it's those rights that we're asking them to go across the sea and die.
What else we got up here? Freddie Weller, Too Much Monkey Business. He's kind of starting to get a little David Cassidy on us all there. Some more good kind of mid-70s country, Don Williams, Expressions. Don Williams, I Believe in You. And now we gotta close this out on a high note. We gotta talk about Hank Williams Jr. because I love Hank Williams Jr. So let's talk Hank. Let's talk some early Hank. This is Living Proof. Love me some Hank. Here's Hank and Friends. Here's Hank starting to change. He's starting to turn a corner and get a little rowdy, get a little bad boy. Here's One Night Stands. Here's Family Tradition. I'm really starting to dig Hank at this point. This is my Hank Williams Jr. It's a little earlier, 14 Greatest Hits. And here's Rowdy. This is where, for me, and I think for many, Hank just became a superstar with Rowdy. When he found this sound, when he started to be that bad boy, this is where he took off. And my absolute favorite two Hank Williams Jr. albums are High Notes and Rowdy.
I'm just like my daddy's son. I'm proud of who I am. I went through a lot of good women, shook old Jim Beam's hand. If I never see the pearly gates, I will walk through the promised land.
Absolutely excellent stuff. And close it out with Hank's Greatest Hits Volume 2. So, that said, I will say that I do still have a good handful of country albums that I've picked up and just haven't listened to yet, so I'll slowly make my way through those and maybe include them in vinyl updates going forward. Talking a little bit about what's out there now, my thoughts anyways, So in the 90s, right, the 90s just sucked. You had things like Faith Hill, Dixie Chicks, Martina McBride, Garth Brooks, a couple songs, Tim McGraw, a couple songs, and like Shania Twain. It's just crap. I mean, just crap. I can't even say there were a lot of good singles from that period. Country had just completely lost its damn way. They really should have just shut the doors, but it's so steeped and rooted in Americana and good old the 4th of July and Heartland rock, it never will. But it definitely lost its direction. As far as the 2000s forward go, I want to say there's still absolutely no shortage of pure crap. Just crowding the airwaves. Nothing that is nothing close to what it used to be. There's definitely still some decent stuff out there, and I think, to its credit, there's some more decent stuff in the 2000s, the nods, than there was in the 90s. You've got bands like Montgomery Gentry that are just kick-ass, and they started in 99 maybe. Tim McGraw can really capture that spirit, much like Randy Travis did in the 80s, of pure country, good old boy music. And I think Tim has done more right than he's done wrong. Brad also has that heart in him, man, that pure country soul. And while I don't necessarily think his albums are great listens all the way through, he's got some really good songs, and he works his ass off to throw back to what he obviously grew up with and recognizes as pure country. Old Alabama is one of his more recent songs, and it's just fantastic. You've got to check it out. Watch him just pay tribute. And then you've got kind of some of the newer bad guys, or who are becoming the bad boys after starting off kind of pop. Folks like Trace Adkins and Toby Keith. And I'm definitely liking what they're doing, but it almost seems like they're trying too hard. They're really trying to be like, I mean, it's great and it's fun, but it's, hey, hold my beer in this, and it's alright. It's not that bad, but it's contrived, you know what I mean? It's forced, it doesn't seem natural. So that is a glimpse at LJ's Country Collection. Thank you everybody for watching. By all means, wide open to comments. Help me pick up on some stuff I've missed. You know what I like now? Throw out some recommendations. Let me know what to keep an eye out for, pick up. When it comes to the early 70s and artists that have now faded away, it's bought based on cover and not a whole lot else. You kind of roll the dice on it. It's not always that expensive, but give me some recommendations. Let me know what you think, and what did you think of LJ's Country Collection. And more than anything, thanks guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.